Today on Ancient Electronics War Room, we'll be taking a look at Shattered Union, Tim Pool's favorite PC game.
We review old technology from games to all PCs, and don't forget the toys. Oh yeah, Ancient Electronics, we cover it all.
So, viewers that have watched my channel for a long time may have noticed that every once in a while I talk about how I'm always building computers and I have all these computers in this computer room, but I hardly ever really play or talk about games unless I'm like benchmarking or something. And I want to play more games and I wanted to talk about more games. And I don't necessarily want to do quote-unquote reviews and in-depth technical things like that. I just kind of want to play a game, give my impressions. I've seen it kind of described as like a book report review. I kind of want to do that. And other than RPGs, and specifically computer RPGs, another genre I really love is turn-based military strategy war games. And there's a lot of them on the computer, DOS, or from the very early days all the way up to now. And they don't really get talked a lot about. Probably because it's kind of a niche thing. They're kind of boring and dry for a lot of people. But I like them. I'm going to try to review them, and I think I'm going to make it a specific thing. I'm going to call it like the War Room or something like that. But I also love alternate history. So any kind of like alternate history, military, turn-based strategy, and I like RTSs too, but I do like turn-based strategy. So we're going to be looking at those. This is going to be the first, hopefully in a long line of these sort of book review type videos. And I thought I would start with this game, Shattered Union. This came out in 2005 for the Xbox and PC. And I always really wanted to try this game and see what it was like. And I figured, with a spirited U.S. election coming up in a few months, and actually a movie coming out in April, the month I'm shooting this video, about a civil war, a second civil war in the United States, I figured this would be the perfect time to sort of look at this game. Or the worst time, depending. So we're going to look at this game. I do want to stress something before we get into this video. This is a computer channel. We look at computers, we look at computer games. It's not a political channel. But if we're going to be covering certain games, especially if it's talking about some contemporary issues, we're going to have to stick our toes into that political sphere sometimes. I'm just warning everyone in advance to save your effort. I don't delete a lot of comments on this channel. But I will delete discussion that is not like strictly on topic. If it does not relate to this game, I will delete the comment. So please, no political discussions or political cheerleading or things like that in the comment section. Please keep your comments directly relevant to the game and the gameplay. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at this game. Again, Shattered Union 2005 for Xbox and PC. And it is a turn-based strategy of a hypothetical second civil war in the United States. So I figure first thing we'll take a look at the box art, and we'll look at inside, and then we'll take a look at some gameplay. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I'm not sure if I'm going to do... I might do a little bit of the beginning with kind of like as I'm playing narration, talking about it. And then I might cut that, and I might put some like heavy hours into it, and then kind of come back and wind it up and tell you what I think about the game. I'm not sure on the format of these yet. But I will tell you, I actually know very little about this game. What I'm expecting is a very simple... I'm not expecting like a Hearts of Iron sort of very in-depth political intrigue and stuff like that. I'm actually kind of expecting a very sort of low-budget affair with this game. A very simple turn-based. I'm kind of expecting something akin to like Axis and Allies, like the board game translated to the PC, where it's very simple. The rules are very simple. You can't do a lot. It's basically just like moving around, like computerized Risk. That's what I'm expecting. It may be totally not like that at all, but we'll see. I don't think this was like a triple A title. I will say, which is interesting, that from the little research I did, apparently they wanted to turn this into a movie. They thought the plot would make a good movie, but that never happened. So I wonder if the current movie is sort of like the recycled plot from this, but I don't know. Let's take a look at the box real quick. Typical what you'd expect here from this sort of scenario. We have Washington, D.C. I'm surprised the Washington Monument doesn't have like a chunk blown out of it or something. We have the tattered flag. We have some silhouettes of armor, some jets, helicopters in the background here. I don't know why they're going with this weird honeycomb thing down here, but yeah, that's pretty much what I expect. Take a look at the back. Become leader of one of 7 factions vying for control of the United States during a second Civil War. It's what I'd expect. These units, though, I find it a little discouraging because they look kind of like weird. I think that's a Humvee there, but it looks like these are like weird futuristic. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this takes place like it came out in 2005. Maybe it takes place in the far future and they have these weird future units. I'm not sure. Your choices in battle affect you politically. That's interesting. Capture tank factories in Ohio, lay siege to Chicago, drop a nuke on LA. Yeah, maybe I will. Choose to lead one with 7 factions. Okay, so this is a gatefold title, so we can open it up. Now, because I do like alternate history, I have seen several maps of like a scenario with a balkanized United States. So I'm going to critique the map here on here and see what it's like or how I feel about it here. So, all right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's our 7 factions. So we have New England Alliance here. Yeah, New England's sort of like its own sort of thing. It has its own culture. I grew up in PA. I don't think Pennsylvania is a New England state. I never really like considered myself a New Englander. I'm from very western Pennsylvania. Then we have the European Union occupation. See, that is a little interesting because usually in these type of games or books or novels or movies or scenarios, you'll have some sort of remnant of the federal government. And usually they're based around DC, but this one looks like it's the European Union came in and they're occupying like DC and the surrounding area. So they're probably like a stand-in for the remnant of the federal government sort of faction. And here we have a staple of this sort of scenario. We have just simply the Confederacy. Of course, you know, the Confederacy was in the first actual Civil War that took place. They pop up a lot in these games and in these scenarios, roughly sort of the same area. So yeah, that is completely expected. I would actually say even more of a staple of this scenario is the Republic of Texas. You cannot do a balkanized U.S. Second Civil War, U.S. falling apart scenario without a independent Republic of Texas. I'm trying to think really hard. I don't think I have ever seen that scenario where you don't get a independent Republic of Texas, to be honest. That's a typical staple. I guess you could even say a trope of the Second Civil War genre here. It is a little bit bloated, bigger than Texas, but maybe that's why we have the extra stars on here, so it's 5 stars. I'm guessing the big one is the Lone Star, and then it looks like they've gobbled up a little bit of New Mexico and Oklahoma, and yeah, some surrounding areas. And then over here, of course, well, we have 2. We have the California Commonwealth. Another thing with the Republic of Texas, always the Republic of Texas. Now, you know, that 90%, that was what would happen in that scenario. You'd get a Republic of Texas. But I would think it would be interesting if they did a game like this and it was like a different form of, I don't know what kind of government you'd get, but mix it up a little bit, and you don't get a republic like the technocracy of Texas or something. I don't know, mix it up a little bit. That was a little far-fetched. Usually you see this in these scenarios as one giant block, like political block. Here it's been split. We have Pacifica. I've also seen this called like Arcadia and things like that. It is a little awkward that it spreads over into the kind of the Midwest a little bit, like Idaho and stuff. That's a little awkward, but yeah, this is a typical thing. You usually see like the Northwest in these scenarios is its own thing. Or it's united with California here, but here we have the California Commonwealth. They didn't go with the California Republic. They didn't want it to be too similar to the Republic of Texas. So Yeah, those are our factions. It's not great, but it's not horrible. It's about what I would expect here. I am interested in goals. Now, again, because I assume this game is a very sort of simple affair, I assume that each faction is just wants to take over everyone else and you reunite the United States. It would be interesting if they had different goals. Like, I could see some of these factions wanting to like reunite the U.S., but like the Republic of Texas, I think they would just want to be like left alone. So it would be neat if the game had a mechanic where, like, if you played as the Republic of Texas, you just had to hold out for a certain number of turns rather than reunify the country. But I don't think the game is going to be that in depth. I think it's just going to be conquer, and that's it. I don't think there's going to be a lot of like diplomacy and stuff like that going on here. Now, notably absent in this map is the states of Alaska and Hawaii. I don't know if they're mentioned in the manual, but again, that's another thing that tips me off that it would be cool if, I understand why they didn't want to include them in the game. They're like far off and, you know, I don't know how much effect they would have on this battle in the lower 48, but it would at least be interesting if maybe they had some kind of impact like off the grid or off screen and you get little updates and maybe you could do something that would earn their favor and they'd send reinforcements to your faction or something. That would be interesting, but again, I don't think the game is going to be that in depth to actually even consider Alaska and Hawaii in this scenario. Okay, so that is our factions. So let's open it up and see what's inside. Now this is like I said, 2005-ish small box release. I don't believe this ever got a big box release. So I'm not expecting a lot of like cool goodies in here. We're probably going to get a CD and gee, it won't come out. We're going to get a CD and a sleeve and a manual that's not that big. Yep. Ooh, 2 CDs. So we get two discs here in sleeves. Again, copies of the cover box art. And then 2K games. And then little manual. So I'm gonna go through this manual. It's nothing special. It's small. It's like black and white. Looks like the factions all have different units, I think. Oh yeah, that's a little interesting. So we don't have just generic units and every faction gets the same units. It looks like it's very like different units or different factions get actually unique units. So that is interesting. That gives me hope that it might be a little more complex than I was expecting. So let me skim through this and then I will give you my thoughts on the manual and what's in store for me. I didn't see anything for like diplomacy in here at all. Different faction. Russia there's a lot of like Russian, so I guess Russia is like maybe a non-playable faction where the EU is a playable faction. There's no storyline. I thought maybe you'd open with like a story on what happened, but there isn't. Maybe it will explain it in game. It's very fair to all the factions in a way that there doesn't seem to be a bad guy. It even, like with the Confederacy, it even points out that they really have nothing to do or very little in common with the original Confederacy except for territory. So it would have been easy to make some of these factions bad guys, but it almost looks like the European Union is sort of a bad guy. It just talks about how Americans resent their growing interference in the war. It kind of confirms that I don't think there's separate goals. Everyone, including the Republic of Texas, is just trying to conquer the map, basically. So again, that makes me think it's kind of simple in that sense. There actually is a good deal of units, and it looks like there's a lot of like common units in between factions. It seems like the realistic, like the actual real vehicles are shared between units. So let me give you an example. So here for heavy armor, we have like an M60 and the Abrams tank. Like every US faction gets those. But then certain factions, I guess, get like special units. Like Texas gets the FCS Hood, and of course the Confederacy gets the FCS Lee. So it looks like it's that kind of setup where, oh, that's interesting. The Russians get Both ends there. They get T-55s as their low end heavy tank, and then they get the T-90 as their high end. So that's a big difference. Like the T-55 came out in the early 50s. You think that would have made that like a T-72 or a T-62 or something like that. But anyways, so yeah, it hasn't really changed my opinion. I still think this is. I like the vehicle. Like I think this is like technicals or partisans. Are they called partisans? So you get like each faction gets a different kind of partisan. They drive like different vehicles. This looks more like Mad Max or something with these like post-apocalyptic style vehicles. But yeah, anyways, yeah, it doesn't confirm or deny what I suspect about this game. It still feels like it's not going to be like super in depth, but I have to say after looking through the manual, it might be a little more complex, maybe gameplay-wise, than I originally suspected. So this is going to be interesting. So I'm going to install this game. We're going to dive into it, and we'll see how it plays. Take a look here at system requirements. So the minimum requirements are pretty low. What is that? 128 megabytes of RAM, a Pentium 3 800 or equivalent, Windows operating system, and then 128 megabyte video card, DirectX 9. Recommended Pentium 4 1.8 gigahertz or XP 1800 plus, 256 megabytes RAM, 128 megabyte video card. So not crazy system requirements. So that shouldn't be difficult for most people. I will be playing this on the AMD SLI build with the FX57 in there. More than enough power to play this game well above the recommended settings. Currently installing it. I think it just finished installing. Yeah, it's just a mismatch of things here. And then that is the capture computer. That's a whole new capture computer. And so I'll be capturing and maybe trying. I've never done commentary as I've captured before, so we'll try that. Also, if you are interested in this computer, I've done a video on it in the past, so I will put that in maybe the description or something if you want to check out this computer specifically. So I just wanted to have like an authentic first impressions of the game.
Following a disputed election and a tie vote, the U.S. Congress installs the most.
Okay, so I guess this is the story behind it.
As David Jefferson Adams becomes the 44th
an extremely unpopular president after a debated, contested election. That's how fanciful and unrealistic.
In response,
let's see
the
here.
president invokes the Homeland Security Act and declares martial law on the West Coast and other areas of the country. Though highly contested, a
specifically the West Coast, though,
sidesteps the electoral process, disqualifying popular presidential candidates from several states. Public outrage explodes when a sham election leads to incumbent David Adams accepting a second term in office.
Remember, this was released in 2005.
During the
I guess
inauguration day
looks like it takes place in like 2013 or 14.
nuclear weapons, killing David Adams and most of the U.S. Congress. The destruction of Washington, D.C. effectively breaks the chain of succession, sending the nation into chaos. In an emergency vote, the European Union deploys peacekeepers in the greater D.C. area to secure international
well, just the logistics of that
With
is...
separatist sentiment rising, California's governor declares home rule and secedes from the Union. Texas follows quickly and declares sovereignty.
Hey, looks like Boss Hogg is moving up in the world. That's nice. That's it. In this game, Texas is run by Boss Hogg. I know he was like from, I think it was Georgia or something, but he's in this dimension. He is the governor or president of the Republic of Texas.
The Second
So
American Civil War now erupts as 7 factions wage war across the land.
oh
They
my.
battle one another to reclaim a nation, to restore peace, to rebuild this shattered union.
Alright, I'm back into the menu here, and there seems to be some kind of delay. What's new? Yeah, this mouse, it's real sensitive. Like, when I hit a button, it, like, double clicks. Medium? Okay. Here we are. Alright, so here we have our factions. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so I'm actually going to play the New England Alliance here. Not, like, the biggest area, but I guess I'm looking down here. It looks like this, like, money, air power, manpower, armor. I don't know what this might be. Artillery, defense, fuel. Not sure on that. Like, infrastructure, maybe. So this one doesn't have a lot of resources, but a lot of, well, decent manpower and money. So it also looks like, see right here, they have a little bit less, like, well, I guess them. So I guess they do have a kind of a border to defend here. But anyways, I'm going to play as the New England Alliance. My strategy, first I'm going to go after the European Union, just because, sorry, you have no place here. Nothing personal, because I know my videos, I think it's like UK and Germany are the second largest, like, viewers after the United States. No offense, but this isn't Europe. I'm going to have to kick you guys out. Plus, you know, the symbolism of taking the ruins of DC. So once I take out the European Union, my strategy, I'm going to go with a southern strategy. We're going to do round 2 with the Confederacy here. Hopefully take them out, and then, sorry guys, I'm going to sweep into the Republic of Texas and take out Boss Hogg, because I want that sweet, sweet Texas tea. So yeah, Boss Hogg's going to have some trouble. And then hopefully after that I can sweep up and clean up the West Coast here, and I don't know, I'll have to see what the Great Plains Federation does. They might be a problem. But that's kind of my general strategy. So I'm going to click on the New England Alliance. I'm going to try to play, it looks like when it starts, it looks like they all have basically start with a neutral political reputation. I'm going to try to be a good guy here. I'm going to try to not use weapons of mass destruction or terror tactics. I'm going to try to play nice, but we'll see how that goes. Alright, yeah, this is what I want. This is kind of, okay. What's this? Okay, it looks like I can buy units here. Okay, so far this is a little more complicated than I was expecting. I don't like this interface. I know I just started playing, but I don't like this interface so far. And I'm thinking of other games of this type, like turn-based strategy, that maybe I've never played before, and I could just jump in, and even though I didn't understand, like, the nitty-gritty of it, like, you could get a basic idea what was going on. And this just seems a little... Well, I mean, this is just buying units, but it just seems like a little bit, I don't know, busy. I don't know. I'm not going to buy anything yet. I don't... Okay, can I attack? Okay, looks like this is like the city area. Okay, I don't know what I'm just going to attack the European Union here and see what happens. Deploy phase, I'm going to auto. You haven't selected any, it's no! Deploy, auto. You haven't select... Oh, okay. Okay, so let's just take everything. Alright. Then we get a little versus thing here. Alright, so let's see what happens with the Europeans here. See if we can kick them out. Let's begin. Alright, attacking the European Union in Eastern Shenandoah. I guess these are objectives, like major cities. We got Philadelphia, PA. Ah, they're in PA. I gotta kick them out of PA, too. Oh no, Atlantic City. So Baltimore. No DC, but I guess DC was kind of leveled. We have a map, but let's... Okay, yeah, this is way more complicated than I thought it would be. I thought this would be... Let's see. Alright, so here's... Okay, we know what these are. We got our helicopters here, but is this turn-based, or is this like real-time mortar attack? Okay. Can I... what? Susanna. 3-3. I don't know. Remember, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm just gonna... We'll hit... Alright, so I'm just kind of getting the hang of it. I should probably start over since I just started, and I made some critical mistakes starting out because I was just kind of figuring the game out. But, I mean, it's basic. It's your basic. It's kind of like rock, paper, scissors in a way. Obviously, like anti-aircraft beats helicopter, heavy tank beats self-propelled gun. It's that kind of thing, but it is a little bit more in-depth than I thought it would be. It's certainly turn-based, but, and like I said, the European Union has an edge over me in, like, air support, so on their turn, like, they'll send in jets, and they'll like, bomb targets, and if you don't have AA around it, they can, they get a clean sweep. If you have AA, you have a chance of, like, shooting them down. You have, special, like, mortar attacks here on the side, although I don't know if, like, you get these every couple turns or how that works exactly. Forced march, demoralize. There's some cool stuff too, like I have airstrikes. Now I had a stealth bomber. It got shot down because I didn't know what I was doing. But like you have like a regular air attack, and then this looks like a Lightning II, F-35 I think. And well, this game came out in 2005. I didn't know if the F-35 was even... This might supposed to be a Raptor. I don't know. But anyways, it's a stealth. So this one has an easier time of being shot down. But like the stealth plane is a little harder to shoot down when you do an airstrike. It's kind of neat. It's a neat little thing. So yeah, like I said, it's a little more complicated than I thought it would be. Here's how I'm doing so far. It looks like I took this objective. So I have 11 days. I need 150 points. I have 25. So I took... this stupid thing, it doesn't even work. So I took this city right here. I forget what... Philadelphia. I grabbed Philadelphia for 25 points. I don't know why... I don't know what I have to do specifically to take these cities, because here's Baltimore, and I pretty much cleaned it out of the enemy. Sorry. I pretty much cleaned this thing out of enemy forces, but for some reason it's not being calculated. So... yeah, here I took Greater Philadelphia. So I don't know why Baltimore isn't popping up as captured. I've taken a lot of casualties, though, so I don't know. I mean, I was going to push on, like, New Atlantic City, I think, and then push down here, and that will get me almost on. Then I only maybe could take whatever this city is right here, but I don't... like I said, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm taking a lot of casualties. I haven't really figured out how to repair or restock forces yet, so... And also, I didn't buy anything initially, so... But I'm going to play this out. I'm going to see how it goes, and then I'll probably restart after that. But I want to... sorry, the overheating alarm keeps going off on this computer, even though it's actually not overheating. But anyways, I just want to see how it plays out. Alright, so I got defeated, though. It was barely. I needed one more city, and I actually had a unit in that city, and they just bombed me. And I underestimated the air power in this game, and yeah, I just got... They basically just wiped me out, mostly through air power. So I'm actually just gonna restart. It didn't end the game. I just got kicked out, and I didn't take that territory, but my army got wiped out. So I'm just going to go in, I'm going to start over, I'm going to take that more into account, I'm actually going to purchase units, and just kind of see where it goes from there and just start over. Alright, so I'm going to start over, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Alright, so I've done a couple playthroughs, I put some time into this game, so I think I can talk about it a little bit better now. I wanted to do that initial part where, like, my first reactions, just to see like the difference between first reactions and after playing the game for a while. So, first of all, the game impressed me. It is much more, not much more, but it is more complex than I thought it would be. Coming into this, I thought this game was going to be more or less like a budget affair, very simple, very like a board game almost translated to a video game. And it's not the most complex, turn-based military real-time strategy game out there. It is not. But it does have enough complexity to it that it elevates it to be something that, in my opinion, was a little more interesting, maybe even a lot more interesting than I initially thought it would be. Good selection of units. It wasn't just like a few units, like there was a lot of units. Every faction had its own specific units. Something else I didn't expect, each faction actually had its like own special abilities. Like the New England Alliance had like mortars and napalm and demoralize, and then if you play a different faction like California, I forget what they called, the California Commonwealth or whatever, they had more like things that gave their units pluses. The point is, they had different special abilities, so it was more varied. The factions were sufficiently kind of different from each other. The European Union had all their units were different from any of the American factions, and then each American faction had like a special like futuristic tank kind of unit they could build. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, overall it was more complicated than I thought. Like each unit had its defense, and then it's had its different strength against like ground, like troops, armored, and air. So that was different. How the air force or the how the air system worked with fighter jets and stuff. I liked how there was a distinction between, you had your stealth units, which were a little more survivable against anti-air, and then you just kind of had your regular air units, and it was better than I was expecting. I enjoyed the game. It was a bit more complex than I thought. I wasn't able to complete like a playthrough. I didn't win. I didn't conquer the U.S. I did watch several videos though, because I wanted to get an idea of the end game, and again I was pretty surprised. So there's several endings. I guess there's like a bad, good, and neutral ending, and there's actually more, like, I guess there's a complete victory where you can get one of those three, and then there's like a partial victory where you can get one of those three, and then there's a defeat ending. So there's a lot of multiple endings on it. I was also wrong where initially when I was talking about the game at the beginning, I said they probably don't even mention Hawaii or Alaska. To my surprise, they're both in the game. Hawaii, not really. It would be cool if they did a little more with that, but I guess after you conquer the lower 48, Hawaii rejoins the Union. But as I was playing, I was very surprised because there was like I was just ending a turn, and like a news report comes up, and it actually talks about Alaska, and the Russians invade and take over Alaska, and then if you conquer the lower 48 states, the last mission is actually reconquering Alaska. So I didn't even think they would address Alaska.
The former U.S. and Russia is only taking back its former territory. End quote. The UN had no official comment at this time.
So that was impressive. There's also, as there is an underlying storyline that actually has to do with the Russians, who are like the real secret enemy, and they kind of helped orchestrate everything, and they're the ones that supplied the nuke that blew up in DC, and there's like news reports as you play through the game that detail this. And it was more than I was expecting. Again, this wasn't like some kind of AAA, excellent storyline sort of thing, but I was impressed over what I initially suspected about this game. So in that sense, yeah, I did enjoy it. I was having a little, it was difficult. It was a lot harder than I thought. I could probably figure it out with some more time. It can be difficult because of how it works, where you have a certain number of units, and then if you want to attack another faction, you have to dedicate a certain... So let's say I have 10 units, and I want to attack the European Union space, and if I send all of those, if I'm attacked in that same turn, I can't defend the territory, and I'll like automatically lose it. And you can get attacked multiple times by different factions, so... It's interesting it's like an interesting dynamic, but it can be hard to kind of juggle that. I'm wondering, I almost want to try another playthrough where I play like super defensively and see how that works, because let's say you have like 10 units and you split it, you take 5 and then you attack another territory, and then you are attacked by another faction, then you only have the 5 units left over to defend yourself, and then you could actually get attacked again by a different faction that same turn, and then you might have no units left. So it's hard to juggle that. It's a kind of a cool and interesting dynamic, but it takes a minute to get used to and like kind of think ahead. Should I hold back this turn? How many should I dedicate to defense? How many should I dedicate to attack? Is it enough? And yeah, it really, I actually did decent my first playthrough as the New England Alliance. I took out the EU territory on my first turn. I didn't take too many casualties on that, but I managed to actually sweep down. I did defeat the Confederacy, but by the time I got down to Florida, my forces were pretty worn fairly thin. And by that time, of all factions, Pacifica had conquered most of the U.S., and I just, between them and I think what the Midwest Federation ganging up on me, there was nothing I could do. I don't think I made the mistake of not sort of valuing or protecting my air units enough, so I think I had like a bomber left, but I had no air defense at that point, so they could just like recon me and then send in bombers and knock out my units that way. So I did decent for like technically like my second playthrough, but really it was my first real playthrough. I think I did decent, but I played through again a couple other times. I played through with Texas and the California Commonwealth, and I did not do as well with those factions. Yeah, the one thing, I will address the theme of the game. So I think I would have had much more fun playing this game back in 2005, and not for the reasons you think. It's not like, well, the technology, you know, the graphics and stuff, you know, they're far surpassed now. I don't care about graphics and stuff. The gameplay's fine. Although I will say I felt a little sluggish, and I was playing it on a computer that was far more powerful than what was recommended or required. But even then, the UI felt like a little bit sluggish and clunky. It wasn't as obtuse as I initially made it out to be when I was first playing the game. I was like, this is very user-unfriendly, I don't get it. Literally, after I stopped shooting, like recording that part of the video and just started playing, it was nothing. It was simple, it made sense. It wasn't all that cryptic, so I don't know. I was just kind of thrown off initially. But the theme, this genre, the like turn-based strategy game on computers or even elsewhere, it is dominated by World War II. So it is refreshing when you get a sprinkling of other scenarios, World War I, Vietnam, things like that. And from thinking, as far as I can tell, I can't think of any other game, at least turn-based strategy, that deals with a scenario of a second American War. So it is an interesting and fun concept, but I would say I would enjoyed this more in, say, 2005, 2006 when it came out, when it was kind of a fun, implausible concept. It's kind of like playing a game with aliens invading. Oh, look at this, would be horrible if this happened. Oh, the aliens are blowing everything up, but it's a ridiculous, improbable concept. Unfortunately, playing this game in 2024, I can't help have that slight feeling of foreboding kind of in the back of your mind as you play this game, and it does mar the experience a little bit. You know, watching forces battle their way across like Pittsburgh and Phoenix and stuff, where it once was kind of like, oh, it's a fun little scenario. I can't help feeling a tinge of like depression seeing it and playing the scenario currently in the climate of 2024. So I think that does mar enjoyment playing it right now a little bit. Probably, maybe it's just me. Maybe some people don't care, but I do think it is a slight factor with playing the game in the present. On a more lighthearted note, I will say from someone that grew up in Pennsylvania, it was funny that they included the small town of DuBois on the map when you play that area, because if you were a child in the 90s growing, well, I don't know, maybe any time growing up in Pennsylvania when you were in school, it was always kind of the joke, you know, you'd look at a map of the state and there were two towns in Pennsylvania that had, you know, funny names. At least when you were a kid, they're funny to you. DuBois and Intercourse, Pennsylvania. And as a child in school. I remember growing up, the joke was like, oh, we're going to go to intercourse and then stop at Du Bois or something like that. I don't know. It was a funny... It's a Pennsylvania thing, I guess, when you're childish, immature humor when you're a kid growing up in Pennsylvania. So I did get a little chuckle that they included the town of Du Bois on the map in PA. But other than that, it impressed me. It was a decent game. I had fun playing it. I will probably go back to it. I actually want to go back and play it now. I want to try more defensive strategy, but there is more to it than I initially thought. So, good game. I would recommend it. I'll give it, I don't know, 3 disembodied Chihuahua heads out of 5. So, I would recommend it. So, thanks for watching. Again, this isn't going to be my main thing. I'm mostly still doing, hardware stuff, but I wanted to branch out a little bit and do some game reviews now and then. I know this was a little long-winded. I'm still trying to kind of find my voice with these type of videos. So if you have any comments or suggestions, please let me know in the comment section. And if you've watched the video all the way through till now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.